Hey, what's up everybody? Today we're talking about how to prepare your home for photos before we put it on the market. Let's jump right into it. Before we jump into the list on how to prepare your home for photos, it's me, Dustin Sexson, your local Austin realtor. And if you need anything, don't hesitate to reach out. Email me, text me below, and we'll get you sorted out. So I want to take a moment as we're jumping into this list to just remind everybody that when this photographer is coming to the property, it's not the photographer's job to clean up for us, to move furniture, and to turn on everything. It's not their job. Their job is to show up, frame the photo to get the best image they can, and snap the shot. That's literally all they're here for. They're literally here to just shoot the place up. That's it. That's all they're here for. And we want to make sure that they get that job done as efficiently and effectively as possible. So when it comes to taking photos for your property, there's a few things we want to make sure that we do before we even schedule the photos. First things first, we want to make sure we know when your trash day is. We are not scheduling photos on trash day. That's not going to happen. We're never going to do it. It just won't look good in photos. And truth be told, they know there's a trash day. They know it's going to look bad, but we don't want them to see that. Going right along with that, another thing we're going to do before we schedule the photographer, we're gonna make sure we check the weather. We wanna make sure that the sun's gonna be out and it's gonna be nice outside. We don't want it to be raining and storming. We don't wanna waste the photographer's time. We wanna make sure the weather's nice so they can come in and get the best photos for the property. Now, another thing we're gonna wanna make sure that we do is that we get the landscape dialed in, getting the curb appeal up, making sure that the front yard looks its best. This is gonna involve removing that dead bush that's been in the flower bed for so long and you've just been putting it off. It's time we get it removed so that when the photos go out, it looks the best it can. We wanna make sure that any holiday decorations come down. If we're selling in a holiday season and the home is going on the market, we wanna make sure we pull those down. For instance, if we've got the home on the market and it's Easter, we don't want those Easter decorations in the photos. Now, if you know you're going to be selling in a holiday, maybe hire the photographer earlier, do the rest of this list, and hire the photographer before the holiday so that you can get those photos before putting all the decorations up, because otherwise we're gonna recommend that you really pull that stuff down because it can date the home in the photo. It can be 3 months past Easter and you're still potentially on the market and you're screaming, I've been on the market since Easter, and we don't want that. Remember, we're trying to get the most that we can for the home. We're trying to get top dollar here. And so that means presenting it in the best light it can. And if someone goes, man, it's been 3 months from Easter and this home hasn't sold, something must be wrong with it. We're trying to not have that. So just take the photos beforehand, or let's go ahead and remove them for the day of the photos. Now, we wanna make sure that any of the flags or signs, we wanna make sure that those are removed from the home. It just doesn't look great. We don't wanna show any allegiances. We wanna make sure we give this blank slate so everyone can see themselves in the home. Mainly because if the wind starts blowing, they're gonna look off because they're gonna be blowing out and we're trying to get this still image and we have this flag that's not gonna be appropriately addressed in the photo. We wanna make sure that all the lights turn on, including that little pesky light that's underneath the hood over the range. Those lights are a pain, and it seems that when people let them go out, they just leave them out and they don't worry about them. We're gonna make sure that this is the time we get it changed before the photographer comes out for photos. Going along with the previous one, we wanna make sure that we let as much of that natural light in that we can. We wanna make sure that we pull the drapes back, open the blinds, and just let the natural light pour into the home. It makes the home feel bigger, more welcoming. We just want to make sure that we give the best impression we can, especially if your home has beautiful natural light. We want to make sure we show that off and get those windows wide open for them. Now, I want to make this clear. This doesn't mean that you have to literally open the windows and let the wind in. We're talking about the light. We want to make sure that we go ahead and change out the batteries on any of the remotes we have for any ceiling fans or anything of that sort. We want to make sure that as that photographer goes through and they capture their photos, that those fans are off. We don't want the movement there. We want it to be nice and still so we can get the best image possible. However, when they go through and they're videoing their walkthrough, we're going to want to turn those fans on to a very slow, nice even tempo to give this nice alive feel. It just gives the home like everything is working and everything is just ready to live in. And we want to make sure that we give that feeling through the video. So make sure that we change those batteries and those remotes work. Now, for those of you who have fireplaces, if you have a gas fireplace, we want to make sure that you actually know where your key is so that when the photographer comes in, we have it and we can turn it on if we need to. Especially for those of you who are gonna want those twilight photos, the photographer may come back through and capture that feel of the home during those twilight hours. And we may be turning that fireplace on to give the best image and so that people can get the true beauty of the home. If you don't have the gas fireplace and you have a wood fireplace, go ahead, clean it up, get the ashes out, put some nice logs there. We may want to light that fire to get the best images we can at those twilight hours. We're gonna wanna make sure that we declutter the home and remove a lot of excess like accent furniture and things off the property just to give a nice, clean, flowy feel to the home without any personal touches. Again, the whole idea of this is to prepare the home to look kind of like a blank canvas for some potential buyer to see themselves in your home. And there may just be things in the home that they don't like, which makes them not like the home. So we want to make sure that we're removing that clutter to make sure that they get the best image of that home as possible. Now, if this is done correctly, we should have about 40% of the items gone from the property, and you'll probably feel uncomfortable because it's gonna look very empty to you, but that's what we want. We want it to feel generic, neutral. Neutrality is key in all of this. We want to make sure that anywhere they go in the home, it's neutral. They can see themselves there because they can dream up all the creative ideas that they want to put in the home. Now, in a previous video, I discussed this one, but it's the same thing here. Preferably, if you're working with me, we would have already done this, but if we haven't, we want to go ahead and make sure that we've removed all personal identifiers from the home. This is going to be things like photos, the names that we put on the walls for kids' rooms. We want to make sure that we remove all that. We were trying to present a blank canvas so buyers can see themselves in the home, and at the same time, this one protects our families and doesn't allow for other people to see who might be living in the home. All right, so similar to removing all the personal items, the family photos and all that, we also want to make sure that we've removed all the kids' toys and put them up. I'm not saying you have to get them out of the house, but we want them cleaned up and put away, whether it be in some drawers, in a toy box, something. We just want to make sure they're not just scattered all over the floor and it looks like Andy's room from Toy Story. But the next thing we want to get out of here are shoes, okay? We want to make sure we get the shoes out of here. I know for a lot of us, we have the shoes, we walk inside, we take our shoes off, we leave them at the door. It doesn't look good, okay? We want to make sure we get those, get them away, hide them. If you have a place to put them in a closet or something, just make sure you get them put away. All right, going along with decluttering, we want to make sure that we hide all of the cables. So if there are any cables just laying around, let's go ahead and make sure that we hide those as best you can. If it's something that's not pertinent to the home and you don't need it right now, I would recommend just go ahead and unplugging it and just putting it away into a closet somewhere that we're not going to be like taking photos of. Just get it out of the picture so that they don't look like excess things that shouldn't be there, can look out of place. So we want to make sure that those things are removed as best they can be. Make sure that the bed is made. Go ahead and pull it up. And I'm not saying you have to do this military and make it super tight. You can bounce a quarter on it, but we do want to make sure that it's neat. Pull up the cover, actually set the pillows, make sure that the blankets are actually arranged correctly and it's not all over the place and we have 100 pillows. Don't do all that. Just make sure you got your pillows at the front, pull the cover nice and pretty taut, and just leave it that way. We want to make sure that we remove all the personal items in here from being out and available. So any earplugs or medications or anything like that that you use, make sure you tuck those away in the nightstand. Now, for anybody who's like me and uses an alarm clock still, remove it. Get rid of it. put it in the nightstand, put it into the nightstand just for the photos. You can pull it back out after the photographer leaves, but while the photographer's there, just get rid of it. Part of this one is that a lot of people may not know when videos are filmed, if it's not shot correctly, you'll get this flicker effect from the alarm clock, if it's a digital one, that we just don't want in the video. So make sure that we put the alarm clock away and let's just have this really nice clean image as we go through. All right, and moving into the bathrooms, we want to make sure that we remove all of your personal items from the counter, put them in a drawer, or just remove them from the home. It's going to be things like beard trimmers, toothbrushes, toothpaste. Just get those off of the counter. It just looks like excess clutter. If you are going to have some towels or anything to help kind of spruce up and add a little bit of life to the room, let's make sure we use natural color towels, particularly white. White is very clean and it reminds everybody of being clean when they're just nicely folded, real pristine and white, and just folded nicely onto the bar. So if we are gonna leave any towels out, just make sure we use some white ones and just nicely hang them on the bars. And while we're still in the bathroom, go ahead and put the toilet seat down. It just looks more put together when it's down as opposed to up. Now, if you're anything like me, one of my favorite rooms in the house is always the kitchen. I like to eat, but we want to make sure that the kitchen is clean for these photos. That's going to mean that all the dishes are put away and everything is just off the counters. So any appliances, we want to make it as minimal as possible. And if we are going to have anything out, again, we just want to make sure that it's cleaned up and neatly on the counter, trying to hide any cords as best we can. Just make sure we've got it clean. This is going to include no dishes in the sink. They can be hid in the dishwasher. We want to make sure that we clean up after the pets. Any fur that's around, we want to make sure we get it up. All their toys, anything like that, we want to put those away. We want to make sure that if somebody has an aversion to pets for any reason, that we don't have that stuff there. It can look cluttered and they may just feel that, hey, you know what, this person had a cat, so they didn't take care of the home. We just don't want that. We want to make sure that we're giving the best impression we can. And some people just may not want to live in a house where a cat was. So let's just make sure we pick up after our pets, keep all their toys and everything cleaned up. So for some things in the backyard, we want to make sure that if we have a pool, all that pool equipment has been put away neatly. Hide it if we can, but make sure that it is as neat as possible. Now, as we're in the backyard and we're for the hosting and getting people prepared for this, we want to make sure that the umbrellas and patio furniture are clean. Open those umbrellas up, get them high in the sky, and just make sure that they look presentable, welcoming, ready to go as if people coming over. This also means any barbecue pits or grills, we want to make sure that we've got those clean and that we've taken care of polishing them, or at the very least covering them up and kind of moving them out of the way so that they don't take away from any of the photos we're going to be taking. Now, while we're talking about the yard, we want to make sure that all the water hose have been rolled up or are put away. I know for some people, they might coil it up and just sit it underneath it. They don't have a box to hide them or anything, but we want to make sure that we do take that away. Again, we're trying to present the house in the best light it possibly can. If you have one of the ones where it's in a box and it gets coiled up, go ahead, roll it up inside that box, let it sit there. That's completely okay, but let's just make sure that we have it cleaned up and put away. And lastly, when the photographer comes to the home, I would ask that you, as the sellers, and your family, if you have a family, the pets, are all off the property while the photographer is there. Let me and the photographer go through and get the photos, make the changes we need to so that we can make it as easy and efficient as possible on the photographer. Because realistically, I don't want you to sit here when you're paying me to take care of this stuff for you. I don't want you sitting here while this photographer goes over and 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 over the same thing. Maybe he or she films the same thing 20 times trying to get the right shot. I just don't want you to have to sit through that. If at all you found this content helpful to prepare for your photos, or you're planning on selling in the future, go ahead and subscribe to this channel because I'm going to continue to help you get top dollar for your property. And if you're in the Austin area and you'd love to work with me and you'd love me to help you with any of your real estate needs, go ahead and down below, email me or text me so that I can get you helped out. All right, that's my list of things that you should do before having the photographer come into the home so that we can get the best photos for your home to put it on the market. What's up, everybody? My name is Dustin Sexson. I'm your local, oh, why did I slap myself so hard? Jeez.